Recording in progress.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Your Money Your Life pod. We are on episode 216 of the podcast. Before we get into it, make sure wherever you're listening, you like, subscribe, 5-star rate, and review the pod. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to leave comments, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know every time we drop a new episode. Let's dive right into it and start with what's going on this week in the market. So we're having another kind of a rally, a bull run rally here. If we looked at it from the last week, I want to see what the last week of the market's done. Markets just opened up today, up a bit over 0.5%. And in the last 5 days, it's a bit over 0.5% up. But again, we've had this rally the last couple of days that we're looking at. In the month, you've got 3%, and year to date, from the beginning of the year, the S&P 500 up about 10%. So that's that double digit. If that holds, I'll be in, we're really early. We're not even in the first quarter of the year yet. So we're still early in times for the market. But so far, the market's showing decent signs in the market. So there's a big thing that let's jump into why. So the Federal Reserve, they reiterated their expectations for three interest rates cuts this year. Still early in the year, they could happen in spring, they could happen in fall. But they're keeping at the current meeting, they kept borrowing rates unchanged at the policy meeting this month. They're also saying that again, it's due to mandates, make sure inflation's still going down, make sure unemployment isn't to a level where it slowed down the economy too much. So you're seeing investors dive right into what the Fed's saying, and they took the initial Fed minutes in the meeting and said, all right, that's a bullish sign that we'll get three rate cuts this year, which is still what the market is anticipating. Three rate cuts, meaning three cuts of the borrowing rate that we expect to see. So that's the big thing in the market is we explain again, early indications so far today is that we're up. So we'll see where that lands again at the end of the period. Neuralink. So I think Neuralink is an Elon Musk company. And it's a and Neuralink, there was a first patient to receive Elon Musk's Neuralink brain implant, and it showed themselves playing chess on a live video stream, moving a computer cursor using the Neuralink device and not using their hands. So the 29-year-old quadriplegic had a freak accident in 2016. So now he's able to play chess using his brain implant to just move cursor on the computer and not even use his own hands because of course he doesn't have X ability to use them as he's disabled. So let's look at the video if you're watching on here with me. This individual is using his brain to move the the cursor and the chess pieces. This isn't crazy technology. This is advanced technology with Neuralink. That's that's crazy. I don't know. I think we're seeing technology move at a rapid pace and being able to solve problems that we probably never thought solvable. This sounds like some X-Men, Professor X type stuff here, like that we would thought was just like cartoons, and now it's real life. And that's why I'm so bullish on technology. If you think about why we invest so heavily in different strong technology companies, because we believe the world, things become more efficient, more problems are being solved. There's way more adaption of technology than anything else, you know, in the next couple of decades, right? Like in the next few decades, right? This is like, this in revolution. This revolution is not, something to be scoffed at. This is real, and it's solving real problems. So make sure you read this if you haven't yet. I'm curious on, where this progressive technology goes from here. So, um, another article I saw that was quite interesting. Single in the city, it'll cost you. If you're single and you want to live comfortably in the 99 largest US cities, you oh, better sit down. What? That's a crazy way to phrase it, whoever wrote this. They said you'll need a medium salary of 94K to be comfortable and single in the city. That's a big discussion now. If you think about it, being single versus having a partner, dual incomes versus not, that is affecting people with inflation that are in the single category just because it's things are a lot more expensive now, right? And so they even say it right here, the BLS inflation in calculator, we can see that the mean of 94K compares to 50K in January 1999. So if you think about inflation, the cost of living, all those things increasing, it gets increasingly harder as a single person to navigate that. Um, And especially if you think about the dichotomies of like actual dating, right? Like I think marriage rates, if someone has the statistics, let me know. But I would assume marriage rates are going down as people, navigate that area. It's going to be interesting. You're going to see a lot more people that are working with planners, working with advisors like myself, because again, that navigating that landscape is something to consider, especially from a financial standpoint, right? Um, we talked about the Fed rate cuts. They still see rate cuts in 2024. The Fed's preferred inflation gauge declined one tick to an annual rate of 2.8% in February, paired with a target of 2%. It also held its key rate at an average of 5.3% for 5 consecutive meetings. So they've held that rate steady for 5 consecutive meetings. And so probably for a sixth, probably for a seventh, we'll see when they actually decide to start to cut rates. There's 70% of traders expect rate cuts to begin in June, compared with 60% prior to this week's announcement. So they're thinking June is the bet for traders that they're making on when they will see the rate cut. So that's still to be seen, but with the current data we have, that's where the market investors are expecting. We'll see if that comes to fruition. Another big story is Reddit's IPO. So they priced their shares at $34 a share. It's the high end of their target range, and they're going to debut raising about 748 million in this round of financing, and this gives them a 6.4 billion roughly valuation. So Reddit, you guys know what it is, a social media company. They're probably, I think they said they're the last IPO since like Pinterest, the last big like social media tech IPO since Pinterest. And it's been tough for different tech companies, social media companies. Um, but Reddit is trying to make a foray into the market by doing this initial public offering and raising capital and letting their shares be publicly traded. I haven't dug into the financials, but if any of you have, let me know. I'm not big on outside of Facebook, a lot of social media companies just don't have the breadth, the reach, the ability to buy and gobble up other social media companies. And so this is going to be one that I'll have to watch closely. But I'll be surprised if we see again. I have not seen the financials, but I'd be very surprised if we see something tangible come from this. But we'll watch out for that. Crypto, there's been flash crashes that turns heads. So seen this, cryptocurrency prices rise over the last year. But there's been like some brief flash crashes that are, alarming to some, it looks like, before recovering 10 minutes later. So Monday, the price of BTC on some exchange plummeted to 8.9K. Oh, wow. Against the dollar. That doesn't make any sense. Before recovering 10 minutes later to about 67K, meaning someone who bought the dip within time could have sold it for nearly 60K profit minutes later. So on this certain exchange, it dipped to under 10,000. That's kind of weird. So there's little liquidity issues there on these different exchanges. But the price again for BTC has steadily risen so far this year. um, Snacked fact of the day: the average cash bonus for Wall Street workers slipped last year to 177K. Again, Wall Street bonuses are definitely down across the board just because there's not a lot of initial public offerings, not a lot of M&A, just not a lot of traction in the finance world. So you're probably going to see a lot of those big bonuses, which a lot of their compensation is based on the bonuses dip during this time frame. Apple could be bringing Google's Gemini AI to phones in a strategic concession. So Apple said it's in talks with Google to license the Gemini AI model to power upcoming iPhone features. Apple said it says to have chatted with OpenAI, um, but they look like they're moving towards a deal with Google. A deal could give Google a major advantage by exposing billions of iPhone users to the AI model. That is a big advantage. If Google Gemini gets on Apple's phones, that's a huge, huge win for Google. It will also provide a much needed PR boost to Gemini, who's had some PR issues. But that's going to be what to watch. We saw the reports came out earlier this week, and Google's stock price rise a bit on the report on the rumor. We'll see when that closes, but it looks like it's going to be closing soon, and we'll have to keep our eyes on that. Dune Part 2 ticket sales hit 500 billion in fewer than 20 days, already grossing the first chapter. Interesting. I've never seen both of those, but I've heard good things from both from people about those movies, but I've never watched them myself. Let's see what other interesting stories was there in the news today. Quiet news week. According to one report, nearly half of parents financially support their adult children. Interesting, interesting. So I think the other roundtable issue discussion today is about retirement planning and how to actually approach it. For those getting closer, not a lot of our listeners are, some of them are close, but not the majority of them are decades away, I would say. But if you are getting closer, here's some tips. Know when to start retirement planning, which is ASAP, right? So that means start to save money, which is one of the big components of retirement planning, starting to save money ASAP, starting to properly invest money and grow money, and then know how much you'll need in retirement. How much will you have when you saved and retire? That's a big point. So we actually have to do some projections and see where, based on your starting capital, your monthly contributions, a conservative investment rate, where you'll be at when you retire, how much you'll have in those nest eggs when you retire, and then how much are you going to draw from it? Most people say this 4% rule. It depends on your cost of living, depends on your lifestyle. Um, so there's calculators that we use for people to determine that, and then also the annual investment return. Remember, if you're older when you're doing this, you're going to be more conservative with your investment, so the return will be lower, right? And then how much do you expect from Social Security, pension, other areas of income? We have to add that in and factor that in. Um, and so those are all big things. But figuring out how much we need to retire based on your cost of living, income, expenses, and how your expenses will change your retirement or how they won't, for example, are ways we want to look at things and how we model things out when we're thinking about retirement. Typical advice to replace 70 to 90% of your annual pre-retirement income through savings and Social Security. So that's a big thing. Prioritize your financial goals. Retirement is probably not your only saving goal. So like always think about retirement's one of them, but to prioritize, if it's student loan debt or different things that they put that also on the plate, especially if you're younger, to get those out of the way. The best retirement plan, I think even most people working with someone is the best because other people that come to us now feel secure because they actually have a plan. They didn't have one prior to, and now they feel secure about what's happening, and how we're able to, one, manage portfolios, and two, change the investments as things happen as you age. Because that's a super super big point that a lot of people don't understand, and don't get. So those are some of the quick tips of it. We go way in depth with people that we work with because it's super super crucial to their future. But those are some quick tips to think about and work with. And that wraps it up, folks. Starting to get nicer weather. Make sure you stay safe. Make sure you stay tapped in, and we will see you next week.